Churches all around the world are beginning to embrace digital signups and are saying goodbye to papers and clipboards. But why? If we've done something for so long and our church is familiar with it, is it worth changing? Well, today you'll get the ultimate comparison between paper and digital signups, and you'll learn how to smoothly make the transition.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Tools, the show to help you share the message of Jesus while we navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills, joined as always by Brady Shearer.
I got a DM, Alex, from a person in Pro Church Nation this week. It says, hey, do you guys have an episode on paper signups versus digital? How to transition over? Seems like paper signups are still the most effective at our connection desk, but we're rapidly growing, so the paper signups are getting a bit more difficult to manage.
Sure.
And I said to him, we do not have an episode.
Now we do.
We have one that talks about traditional media versus digital media, you know, billboards and mailers versus social media advertising and things like that, but nothing about transitioning from paper signups to digital.
Right.
And for a lot of churches, they're beginning to confront this and thinking, this is happening at your church right now.
Yeah.
Church of about 100. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't have to be like exploding in numbers necessarily to confront this. And so let's talk about first some of the reasons why you might consider switching.
Sure.
We'll use this individual's reason first. That is volume.
Yeah.
If you're getting a lot of signups, and you don't have to be a big church for this to happen. In this case, this person's church is growing. And so the method that they used to use is kind of becoming like overwhelming. It's like
Right.
it's like you have a computer and it has a certain amount of hard drive space, but then you become a video editor.
Right.
And suddenly the hard drive space just doesn't work anymore because the application has shifted, or you're just doing way more projects than you were before and you need to upgrade. Similarly, in this case, this church is seeing more and more people come. Thus, more and more people are registering, signing up for events, for ministries, for volunteer opportunities, and that paper system that they had that worked is no longer working at a certain critical mass. There's just too many people.
Well, it might not even be too many people, which in most cases it likely is, but right now in this Easter season, it could be volume of events.
Right.
Like at our church right now, we have a ton of things that people are signing up for. So it's not just 100 people potentially signing up for one event. It's 100 people signing up for 4 or 5 events.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm buried under 500 connection cards instead of 100. And so it could even be volume of events during some of these busy times of the year, whether it's Christmas or Easter, what have you.
Another advantage that digital signups have over paper is storage, access, and backups. So when it comes to storing your paper signups, maybe you have a very well organized like little folder
Filing
system.
cabinet?
Ooh, filing
Yeah,
cabinet.
we
I
got
don't
one
even
of
know
those.
the word.
We still have one of those.
You have one of those?
Yeah.
Very nice. You have a filing cabinet. You open it up and you can sort through, you know, like permanent records at school. Like,
Yeah, for like 7 years until you burn them ceremonially.
right, because that's like the rule in Canada after 7 years.
Yeah, it's like you have to keep them for 7 years. After that, get them out of here.
Every
Our
year
filing
you got-
cabinet's not big enough.
Every year you have that burn the world service where
Yes.
you're just burning documents.
Just old documents. Yeah.
Another thing would be access. If you are on the road, if you are on the go, if you're at home, your home office, you're not at church and you need access, you don't want to have to drive to the office to get into that filing cabinet.
Right.
You can just open Dropbox, open Google Drive, open Nucleus, and get access to all of your signups and registrations right
And
there.
multiple people can have access at the same time. So if there's a handful of people working on a certain event or project, you know, it's not just one person has the paper signups, but everyone has access to all that information.
And then backups. Of course, you can make backups of physical copies manually by putting them into the printer / scanner / copy.
Or
What is it called? Copy? What?
Yeah, like
Copy
a
maker?
printer.
Maker copy.
A copier.
Oh,
A
copier.
copier.
Yes.
Photocopier. That's it.
Oh,
we just aged ourselves.
we're not trying to sound
That
like
wasn't a joke.
whoa, we're so like we're moving forward so quickly.
No.
I don't remember the names of old
I just
tech.
watched that happen.
Literally
in real
can't
time.
remember any
Yeah.
of the names of
Yeah.
tech.
Or so back to what we were saying, you're taking physical copies and manually inputting them into a computer. You're turning them digital. So that's volunteer
With a scanner.
Yes. So that's taking volunteer hours or maybe even paid hours. You know, maybe it's a staff member who's doing that. So maybe time in this case actually equals money for your church.
Another reason you might want to make the switch has to do with complexity of signups and registrations. A lot of signups that you can do with digital forms and digital solutions allow for conditional logic, something where if a person answers a question or responds to a form field in a specific way, another option presents itself that
Right.
wasn't there if they answered it a different way.
Right. So if this, then that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So someone could say, oh, are you bringing kids with you? Yes. Oh, great. Now you have to fill out this section of the form.
Right.
You can't do that with a physical form. The only option is to have a form with every possible option all at
Right.
once. And we've all filled out government forms like this. My goodness, I had to do this for the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! It's like, if you are this, fill out section A. If you're this, fill out section B.
Right.
If you're this, fill out section A and C. If you're this, fill out all of the above. Also, pages 4 and 7, not 6. If you fill out 6, you go to jail.
Instead of having people exhibit the fruit of the Spirit at your church, if you have a form like that, they're going to be exhibiting these 7 deadly sins.
They just won't be able to handle it. I'm filling out a passport
I'm
application.
losing my salvation right now filling out this form.
Another thing that forms might need is payments. And this can be done directly within a digital form all in one.
Sure.
Whereas usually payments, if you're doing physical, like you have to visit the connection desk. It can only be done at that certain point. It's a separate process. With digital forms, it can be done all in one. What if you need to change? You made a mistake. Never's going to happen, except it always happens.
Right.
Maybe you need to add something. You're like, you didn't think about it. But then once the first couple of signups came through, you're like, oh, we probably should be asking for X as well.
Right.
Oh, I got to print off all the new signups all over again. With a digital solution, you can just go in, make the change, update the form, update the registration flow, and you're done.
There you go.
Or maybe you need to remove something because it was spelled wrong. You need to update something. All of those changes can be made instantly with digital solutions. Let's talk about user data and church data. We're moving towards all-in-one solutions, and this is so exciting for the world of church. We're really trying to spearhead this with Nucleus. The ability for everyone's next steps to all be encompassed within a single solution. So giving is happening there, signups are happening there, registrations are happening there. So you as a church can look at data across your church, but then also an individual can see, oh, I submitted these prayers. I signed up for these events. I volunteered in these capacities. I gave in these amounts. And so for an individual, you can see all of the different things that they're doing. It's not all separated across, 18 different filing cabinets. And then for your church, you can then mine that data as a whole. So you can say for, let's say, mission trip signups or retreat signups, oh, usually 30% of people pay all at once, but 70% of people find a huge advantage in breaking it up into multiple payments. We should probably stress that a bit more in our communications because it seems people prefer that. We found this out with Pro Church Tools when we started offering annual subscriptions to our products and monthly subscriptions. We realized how many churches signed up for annual. I don't sign up for annual anything.
Right.
I am monthly by far, even if it costs more. But for churches who are working with yearly budgets, for them, they much preferred to pay annually, especially if it came with an added discount because they're going to spend the same amount of money either way. Like their budget is set, right? Our landscapers just came to the house today and they are billing me for the year, but they're billing it every single month. Like, I'm paying monthly, because I'd rather pay smaller amounts monthly. But for a church, like our budget is the same. It's much easier to get that added discount. We didn't know that until we started mining the data as a whole.
Right. So you could use that data, like you said, to make decisions about how you handle signups or registrations or what have you. But you could also use that data to track the health of your church. We talk a lot about how healthy your church is and how your church is growing. A lot of churches will measure that by how many people attend your Sunday service. But we think there's a more holistic way we should be evaluating church health and church growth. So that's looking at how often people are signing up for small groups, when they're getting, when they're volunteering for in-service events, outside of service events, all those things. If you have all this data online because you're accepting registrations, taking fees, all those things digitally, you can look at Brady's last year at church and say, how involved was Brady at church this year? And we can get a gauge just simply off that data set of how he's doing and how he's progressing in his life with Jesus.
And then finally, everything we do here is about helping your church seize the 167 hours beyond Sunday service. If you're doing paper signups, that requires you and the person signing up to be in the same place, or at least that paper sheet and the person signing up, the family signing up to be in the same place. And this will limit the ability for your congregation to register for ministries, to sign up for events beyond a Sunday service. And that can be tremendously limiting when you think, okay, if Sunday service is just about an hour, a couple of hours, that means that there are literally 167 times more time beyond a Sunday service where they aren't able to sign up. which is tremendously limiting. And one parallel I often think about when I consider switching from paper signups to digital signups is the shift we've seen across so many of our churches in the last decade from only offering or receiving donations and tithes through cash and check to allowing for online giving.
Sure.
And at first, people were like, well, why are we doing this? It can be as simple, though, as, well, people can give all the time rather than just on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That reason alone can make a huge difference. And so my prediction is that similar to online giving and the adoption we've seen across churches, we're going to see that as well with online signups, with digital registrations. And you're a perfect example of this, Alex, because you've just this week or this last month had your first online only, digital only event at your church.
Our church is going through this transition exactly right now. We have recently been offering both kinds of registration. So we transitioned from exclusively print to in print and online. And now we're hosting a women's conference that is online registration exclusively. And you made a point to it earlier about seizing those 167 hours during the week when you're not in the same place at the same time with people who belong to your church. Most of the people who signed up for this conference so far have done it midweek and frankly at ungodly hours. I will look in the morning and see who's signed up for the conference and be like, what was this person doing up at this time on our website signing up for a conference? I don't know, but frankly, I don't care because that form is available for them online. They are able to sign up wherever and whenever they are. Now, there are some people at our church who either don't have internet access, aren't comfortable using a credit card online. One lady said she's been hacked 4 times recently. She's like, I just can't trust the internet.
4 times?
I know. And I said, no problem. So with those people on a Sunday morning, instead of me saying, hey, and I would be the proponent to do this, I would naturally want to say, hey, I'll just take care of this for you. Instead, I chose to say, hey, why don't you come over here behind this computer and let's do this together. So although they don't have internet access or there's a stumbling block to doing it themselves, I say, let's do this together. I walk them through it together and we're pushing all those signups to be online and we've seen tremendous success.
So we call this the Super Church Lobby Kiosk setup. We've got a full article how-to guide that will walk you through the software you need, the hardware you need. Obviously, Nucleus, our church website solution, our online platform was made to facilitate all of these things, but you don't need to be using Nucleus to take advantage of this. And the key to making the lobby kiosk work is exactly what Alex is talking about. It's really nice if you can make the shift. People talk about, okay, how do we make this transition? I'm a huge fan of just saying, we used to be paper, and now there is no paper anymore.
Cold turkey.
Exactly, because the people that are going to give you the most trouble will never use the digital solution if you still have the paper option. And it's going to feel like there's this huge amount of tension between paper and digital, all because of this minority group that's just being annoying. And that's not a church or Christian thing. There's just always a minority group that's annoying. There's a small vocal minority, and they just want you to know that you're doing a bad job. They're just critics. Hey, good for them. They're making their voice heard. Do you? But if you make that switch, cold turkey, like we're only offering digital, yes, it's going to be annoying for some people, some because they're just annoying people, but others because, hey, there are certain realities in their life that make it difficult to make the switch. So what we always do is once you've got your lobby kiosk set up, and we've got some pictures right now on the screen of churches that have actually done this, is station actual volunteers right next to the physical kiosks. The older the volunteers are, the better. Because it usually is going to be older people that are struggling with this. So if you station older volunteers next to the kiosk, it signals, hey, I know this person. If they can do it, so can I. And then actually have them walk through the digital signups in person. And then once they've done it that first time, just let them know, hey, you can do this from any computer, from your mobile device, anywhere you want. You can do this. It's very easy. And that way you're actually instructing them and you're bringing them along in the process. Because if you just make the switch and say, figure it out, some people are going to say, I don't have internet.
They get lost along the way.
So they still want to sign up at the connection desk. Great. Have them sign up at the connection desk at the lobby kiosk. There's someone to walk them through. It's the identical procedure, except they're typing in the letters instead of handwriting in the letters. The solution, the transformation, the transfer has been made, and you're bringing everyone along with you. Some churches that have actually done this, these churches use Nucleus. Again, you don't need to be doing this. Just to show you that this has been done. Churches are really doing this. This church said, Nucleus has totally taken our church digital in a way nothing else could. We were paper, bulletin, and clipboards until we got Nucleus. And now people are engaging all week long instead of just Sundays. This goes back to what you say. My theory, Why are these people signing up for these ungodly hours?
knows?
They're being convicted. Nothing good's happening late at night.
The Lord
You're doing
woke
bad
them up.
things. You're like, oh no. Oh, I've been doing these things I shouldn't do.
I need
You
to
know
get on
what?
my church's website and sign up for that
I
conference.
need this conference. No one signed up for conferences on a Sunday. I was just at church for like 2 hours. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But Tuesday night, 1 a.m. I do need that conference.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the ability for them to sign up, you can't get them when they need it most. Just a theory. Probably wrong. Another church said this: helping guests find fitting group options have been an ongoing frustration for our welcome team. Constantly changing info made upkeep of our paper-based groups time-consuming and difficult. With Nucleus, we can now offer a real-time kiosk that's eye-catching and engaging, not to mention up-to-date. So the first pain point for the church was people are signing up all week long, not just on Sunday. See the 167. For this church, it was that change, the changes that needed to be made to their groups. That was one of the things we talked about earlier. Things are changing all the time. You always got to be printing off paper.
Right.
You're always printing and recycling, printing, throwing in the trash,
Climate
not
change.
recycling, climate change, lacking envimentalism. Not what this episode is about. But
Next
we
time on
mentioned
Pro
it.
Church
Next time on
Tools.
Pro Church Tools. If you have any questions about setting up the lobby kiosk, we'll have the link to the full how-to guide. So many churches have implemented it, so we encourage you. You can get just a cheap stand off of Amazon. Use any tablet. Use your website. Nucleus is made for this, but you can hopefully use any solution that you're already having to make this work as well. That'll do it for this episode of Pro Church Tools. We'll see you next time. Rock, paper, scissors. I win. Like the video. Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, I win. Subscribe to the channel.